I often tell clients, whatever you're charging right now, just double it. Most people do not realize the value of what they're providing. People will call me and say, I have this successful business, but I hate it. And the truth is, almost every business can kind of get brought back down to the equivalent of a lemonade stand.
If you're running your own consulting, financial advisory, or accounting firm, and you're trying to figure out how to grow, hire, price, and not lose your mind in the process, you're in the right place. I'm Del Marie Salcedo. Welcome to the Consulting Engine. Today I'm sitting down with Kara Duffy, the founder and CEO of Kara Coaching and consulting firm focused on helping organizations of all sizes improve their strategy, team structure, and operations. Kara, welcome to the show. Really glad to have you on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, for those who aren't familiar with your business, what does KDCC do? Who do you do it for? And how did it come to exist?
Sure. So, KDCC is just short for Kara Duffy Coaching and Consulting. I always imagined I'd have a business name that wasn't including my own name, but everyone just kept saying, call Kara. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to lean in on what makes it easier for everybody else. And I help people with business strategy, advising, building, launching across all industries. So many people think that different businesses are unique and our challenges are unique. And the truth is, almost every business, no matter the size, the industry, can kind of get brought back down to the equivalent of a lemonade stand. And so there's a lot of best practices that we can use. It's a lot of the same issues across structure, people, teams, time, money, like the same questions come up. They're human aligned business needs. So we get to repeat them and solve them. But also, I think where I'm different than a lot of other coaches or consultants is I'm looking at first, how can the owners and the leadership team have their all? And second, how can we keep the soul of the business existing while we try to optimize, make efficient, and scale everything else? I think so often people will call me and say, I have this successful business, but I hate it, or it doesn't work for me, or I'm over it. And it's really sad because usually these businesses started from a place of excitement or passion or your zone of genius. So how do we allow you to love what you're doing and have the best team and the money and all the things while you do it?
Yeah, I think it's great that you bring your businesses back to their origin and what made them come to life in the first place. So, who is your ideal client? How long have you been in business?
Have I been in business or have they been in
How
business?
long have you been in business?
Oh gosh. So, well, I've been launching brands and products and businesses for a very long time. I was doing this within corporations, working in footwear and apparel for a long time, opening new markets, launching new products, new whole brands sometimes. And so I did that for 20 years. And then I started coaching nonprofits and for profit businesses in about 2014. I would have people call me all the time and say, hey, you do this, for billion-dollar companies. Can you help me launch my tiny t-shirt business? Or can you help me with getting this nonprofit off the ground? And I went from kind of doing it when a friend would call me to saying like, I think I have something else to give than what I'm doing at work. Let me test this out. And then I went full time in 2018, and I love it because I really enjoy helping different people every day. We can get really bogged down by things that are businessy, especially when we want to focus on what we're good at and how we're serving and who our clients and customers are. So it's really fun for me to kind of make business lighter and easier again for people. And then, like, from an ideal customer perspective, I really think that to me, I don't have a specific industry niche. It's really about shared values. Who are people that want to make more money, make an impact, work with good people, do good work? Like, if you really want to bring your all to the table and, like, let's have not just an incredible business, but an incredible life, that's who I want to work with. If your focus is strictly, I want to 10x everything and flip and move on and keep going, that's probably not my customer because I'm really looking at people who are putting their heart and soul into things and want to get as much out as they're putting into it.
I think it's really great that you've brought your background to life and working with these smaller players and the philosophy you have on kind of who your ideal clients are. So these days, since you've been in business since 2018, how much of your new business comes from you personally versus the firm having its own presence in the market?
Oh my goodness. Well, because my name's on it, I don't know sometimes if there's a difference
It's a blur.
between
Yeah.
me or the agency. I would say that about 90% of our business comes from referrals. People ask like, "Oh, are all of your clients local to you?" And no, like my first clients were not anywhere near me. I have clients in Europe, across the US, and it's really because of someone I knew who I kind of either reached out to myself, working on my networking and connecting with people who I thought might be great lead generators for myself, as well as someone I worked with referring me to other people. So I'm really honored it's been that way. And then I would say the other 10% is coming through from people who have heard me on my own podcast and other podcasts like this, who have followed me on Instagram. So often still, they've been referred to that in some capacity. So there's not a lot of, I think maybe like two people in my entire list of hundreds of clients have come out of nowhere and just stumbled upon me on accident. So it's really a heavy network relationship based business.
That makes sense. And so when you do take on a new client, what do the first 30 days typically look like operationally? And how does it begin?
Yeah, sure. So onboarding is so important with all clients. And I think this is an area that people skip a lot. And I think onboarding actually starts on the intro call. So my process is typically that I get connected to somebody, and I'm always sending them back to booking a call with me. So there's a link I have, anyone can book it. It's available on my website and other 18 million other places. But even people who are email or text introed or in person, I'm always sending people there because that allows me to rely on the kind of digital component of my business as well. And once that intro call starts, that to me is where the onboarding starts. I'm being really upfront about kind of how I operate, what communication looks like, what are the expectations are. And then that rolls right into their kind of first 30 days that we're together. It's so important both on that intro call as well as the first session I have with somebody that I am, because it's business is like dating. So like in those two calls, it's, are we a match? Do we fit? And I'm the type of person, for better or worse, who is not afraid to ask all the ridiculous questions on a first date. I'm like, either we're going to scare people away or we're going to find people who like us even more because of it. And so I take that into business. I'd rather people be pushed away, maybe like, maybe this isn't right for me. Maybe I'm not ready to do the work. Because as a coach and consultant, I can only meet my clients halfway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also where the biggest boundary is in the first 30 days of setting that precedence of, I'm here to support you in doing the work. I'm going to create tools with you. I'm going to create plans with you, but like you have to execute on it. And I think when people start in a consulting type space, even in, marketing services and other B2B services, it's really easy to start taking over someone's business because you see all the things to do, and we get this false sense of urgency, like, oh my gosh, we have to do all of this now. And it's just not true. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to pricing our support with, we undercharge and overdeliver because we're trying to fix all of it in the first 30 days. And we can only deliver what people are willing to invest in. And so people are always choosing like time or money often, because it's like, how are we going to transform your entire business into this multi-million dream that you have in 30 days? We can't. Even if you paid me, billions of dollars, we can't do it in 30 days. So it's really about setting that pace and that precedence and building trust with the clients, and also continuing to audit the businesses too. I can work with a client for months and then they finally reveal like, oh, by the way, I've actually wanted to start this other business this whole time, or oh, by the way, I've never set up something like QuickBooks, and I have no idea where my money's going. So there's going to be a surprise no matter what. So how many can we uncover in the first 30 days?
So you talked about the sort of boundary of like being the coach and not necessarily kind of taking over, becoming emotionally involved, as I would say. How do you maintain that boundary?
It's definitely been something that I had to practice, especially in the beginning, because the clients I take on, I'm excited about their businesses. Like, I don't say yes to somebody if I don't see, 10, 20 steps ahead of what their business could be. I often can see how big it can be more than the client can because they don't have the exposure, they haven't seen it before. And so I really have to make sure that I keep checking in with myself. Part of the boundary I have is that unless it's something else we've agreed upon, like I'm not doing a la carte independent work. Like I'm there for the session, and when we get done in the session is it. So like that time frame and structure gives me that boundary. And then I also have to really make sure that I'm holding people accountable. Being a coach does not correlate with being liked all the time. We're here to produce results and to give people the dreams that they want. And I think that people underestimate how much being an entrepreneur means that you have to do a lot of personal development work on yourself, on your own limitations, your own roadblocks, your communication style, your leadership, sometimes our levels of delulu. So there's a lot of having to just stay on course and remember this is what they've signed up for. This is what we can do today. We'll come back to it tomorrow. If there's a moment when I feel like a client needs a sprint or we need to dive into something, they need more support because of time, they need more momentum, I tell them, hey, let's make some adjustments. We should meet, twice this week, or we should meet for a 4-hour deep dive. We have to get this stuff fixed. Hey, we should have a call with your team because I need to talk to you and the people who are going to be doing this at the same time. So I take on as my responsibility that I'm guiding people from where they are to where we've agreed to get them. And if that means I have to kind of tell them what we're doing, that's often what I have to step in and do as well.
That's really great insight. I want to circle back and touch a little bit on pricing. And you mentioned a lot of times you kind of undercharge, over deliver because you're trying to create that relationship and really bring the value that you have. Could you speak to a time where you felt like you did leave money on the table? How did you kind of pivot or change? What did you learn from that as you went forward?
I mean, I think anybody who has launched their own business has how much money they've left on the table at the beginning. And it's so often because of whatever money story we're dealt with. I often tell clients, even on the first call, an intro call, whatever you're charging right now, between now and when we talk next, just double it. And they think I'm crazy. And I'm like, just double it, see what happens. And most people do not realize the value of what they're providing. And so for myself, I have had, if I look at back in my business, you can see like a clear staircase with some like bigger jumps happening as time has gone on about where things are priced. Part of it was because I finally did research to figure out the average kind of hourly rate for other consultants and coaches just in my geographical region. I've always tied also my impact to the client versus like the value of like how much they're earning. If I can help someone generate a multi-million-dollar business, that's not $125 an hour, which so many people are like, that sounds good, I'll charge that. Or $250 seem to be like very comfortable numbers for people per hour. And that's so undervalued. So I am constantly checking in with my own business coach about, okay, do I need to raise my rates this year? Where are things going? Do I need to look at different kind of price structures where instead of just charging for the packages, am I also getting profit sharing for the growth we're providing? I'm always evaluating other ways to look at, are the models correct? And typically I'm adjusting prices at least once a year. And then sometimes it just depends if there's been a shift in how I'm operating or what I have available for people or what I can give them, then I'll change it then too. We also have to like remove ourselves because when we're building agencies, at some point, it's not just the owner doing the work anymore. And so we have to look at, okay, what is the agency kind of standard rate so we can do bottoms up math when we're looking at our finances versus our team versus what we get paid when we're the ones actually involved in the project. And I think just looking at the competition as well. I have a lot of people who are in the kind of marketing services spaces, and there's agencies out there who are charging $2,000 a month for social media and others that are charging $25,000 a month for social media. Obviously, there's some differences in like what's underneath those services, but the range is limitless for what you can offer. I mean, Tony Robbins charges over $100,000 for 3 days with him and in one of his private masterminds. So there's a lot of different ways to price that include what your value that you're providing is, just what you need to make personally, and kind of like where you want to be going with this business. And it should be value oriented, not hour oriented.
Right. And I think that's great that you're not kind of deciding on value and pricing in a vacuum. You're looking at
Mm-mm.
the market, you're talking to folks, competitors, your business coach. I think that really helps to give a well-rounded perspective. As you looked forward, how are you currently measuring the success of your consulting and your speaking engagements? Besides just revenue targets or P times Q in volume, what do you look for to say, you know what, I'm doing well, I'm on target, or, I'm going gangbusters?
I feel like I have so many points of evaluation, and sometimes when I talk to people about how often I'm checking in on like 10 different factors, it can cause them to be overwhelmed. But I'm so committed to like doing work I care about and working exclusively with people I care about. I have a post-it that I've had for years now, and it kind of just moves from like a bulletin board. Sometimes it's on my monitor if I need a refresh. It just says, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And like my options are, I can do work with name the person, or I can do the speaking event, or I can go to Italy, or I can go to Australia. Like I'm really keeping myself present to that I'm choosing every time. Am I spending this time with my family, or am I spending it with a client? Do I enjoy this project? And that's definitely a point of privilege where I have the option to, like, I'm not sitting here starving. I don't need to hustle every day. I don't need to say yes to every project. And I'm so thankful for that. There was a moment when I was doing that to like get this business moving, but I'm much more measuring it on, financial metrics first, because that separates a business versus a hobby. But then, do I enjoy these people? Do I enjoy the conversations I'm having? If I wake up on a Monday and look at my schedule, I should be excited about it. I should be looking forward to it. And if I'm not, that's an indicator that I need to make an adjustment, pivot something, you know, give it a shakeout to like make sure that I'm back and engaged. Because if I'm not engaged, like you can feel it. It's going to show up in all the places. And I'd rather pass a client off to somebody else who's going to care at a deeper level, or maybe be a better fit for them, than to continue doing work that isn't lighting me up, or like I need to get as much out of it as I'm giving.
That's a great mindset and some really good words to live by. Let's turn a little bit to some of the more difficult things. So, last time we talked, you mentioned that there's a couple things taking up your headspace right now in terms of launching digital programming, your masterclass, completing your digital tech stack reorg, simplifying your back end. Let's dig into those in a little bit more detail. So, how are those weighing on you? What have you been thinking through? What makes them difficult?
Sure. So probably about 6 months ago, I started really kind of doing a KonMari house cleaning on my business. I have three businesses, and two of them in particular, I'm like, all right, they've been around since 2016 and 2018. Like, we need to dive back through them. I was looking at my kind of financials at the time, and I was like, why are we spending so much money on different apps and subscriptions, and even like support people? I'm like, I'm not feeling the support I used to feel in our growth spaces. I know everyone's working hard, I know everyone's doing stuff, but I'm not connected to that right now. So like we need to make some changes. So I have gone through and cleared out almost my entire tech stack, which meant like I've gotten rid of more than half the apps that we were using. I really scaled a lot of things back to how can I do it through Google Meets and a Google Drive and a spreadsheet, because I don't think I need all of these things that we had set up before. And so I'm going back through like, what do we need to deliver great customer service? What do we need to do smooth onboarding? In one of the I do a time management 101 workshop, and I'm always talking about how do we automate something? How do we delegate it? How do we delete it? And I've been going through and deleting team members and tech stacks to really clear things out to make the business lighter. And that's hard, right? Like you don't want to get rid of great team members. You changing systems can be really annoying and frustrating. And so I'm going back through now and be like, hey, what do we need for the next evolution of this business? I'm looking at each piece, which can feel really tedious because I obviously have tons of other things to do. And it takes a long time because the business is so integrated that you one domino, it's going to have a ripple effect. Even simple things like you forget how many places your like book and intro call link is in the world. And now I have to go back and find them all to replace them with a new link, with a new system. And so I'm really giving myself grace of like doing it slow and doing it right. Also, because on top of that, I'm evaluating some of the products and services we've offered to say, do I want to keep offering them? And if I do, is it in this way or is it in a different way? And so pretty much everything right now, except the private coaching consulting work, is up for debate. And I actually think it's quite fun. And I'm giving myself space to not just think logically about it, but feel into it as well. Because so often our body's already telling us what we should or shouldn't do when we forget to listen to it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And to your point, you're being methodical, you're being intentional, you're kind of pacing yourself through that. And that takes time. So I guess as you think about that, is there a timeline you've set to yourself? What's the cost to your business, your personal life, if you don't get these changes implemented?
That's a really good question because I think sometimes when we start projects as business owners, we don't do the math on them and we don't do calendars against them as well. For myself, because we've been cutting things and saving money, I don't need to worry so much about what it's costing us on a day-to-day basis, but there is opportunity cost for not having the group programs and the courses turned back online right now. So I've been giving myself the goal of having it done by August because I am still myself in a mindset of September is not both back to school and back to business. And
Mhm.
so if I can get through now through the summer holidays and have everything kind of ready to go to launch back at the end of August into September, I'll feel really good at it. I've also been realistic that we had so many layers in the business and some of them are confusing internally, which means they must be confusing externally. So I have phased the different parts of our value ladder to get clarity on like which ones need to be done by August and which ones am I okay giving through the end of the year to launch back in 2027. So that feels good too, to like break it apart and see clear phases because I can be so impatient and so judgmental on myself that I'm like, nope, we're going to set ourselves up to have time to give ourselves grace and to do it the right way versus rushed.
Got it. And so you mentioned your tech stack, which I'm assuming these day and age includes AI tools. I'm curious to see how else you've been using AI throughout your business, whether it's kind of front end collecting data or how you deliver a more efficient process. What are the ways that you've integrated it?
Well, I will say disclaimer first for AI is that I have so many people calling me saying, I need an AI solution, otherwise my business won't survive. And 9 times out of 10, you don't need an AI solution. You need an automated solution, which that's an algorithm. That's not, artificial intelligence. You just need a system and a structure. So with this tech stack change, with this team member, like the team of humans changing too, we've been diving so much deeper into what can AI do. Like right now, Claude Cowork's doing so many things for people where we might not go back to our assistant teams we had. We might just put all of that work into Claude, which to me is so exciting because I like hiring people for their brains, not for busy work. And there's so much opportunity to pay people better because they're doing things that support the front end strategy work of a business versus making sure our notes and agendas and calendars are set up correctly. So right now I use moving to Google Meets has helped a lot because from Zoom because it has all the transcriptions, it has the recordings, it auto saves it, it prompts me to end the clients who are in the meeting, all their action steps. So like that type of AI has been great. And then we're looking at other systems that can also take the course material that we've already done and even guide us further into should this be broken down into smaller courses? Where are the missed opportunities where people are pausing, stopping, like really doing strategic evaluations on it? That's super interesting to me as well because it takes so long with how many courses we have to look at which ones are worth moving into this new, 2.5 version of the business, and which ones aren't. Like which ones should maybe be free, which ones should we charge for? So it's been really interesting to like use AI to help us kind of sift and sort, because I can be attached to them because I know they each add value, but that doesn't mean that our customers care about that in the different tiers. Like, what does a stranger care about versus someone who we've worked with before? It's very different needs. And so we're kind of dropping things into Claude to say, based on these different consumer types, how would you sort and help us organize these courses and programs to maximize them from a revenue and completion perspective? Because only 7% of people complete online courses. And I hate that because I want my time with people to be valuable and impactful, even
Okay.
if it's a pre-recorded version of me.
So
Yeah.
why Claude? I mean, there's a bunch of different
Mhm.
ones out there. There's obviously ChatGPT, there's Gemini. Why did you guys land on Claude?
Well, I'm anti-ChatGPT based on what they're doing with the federal government. So I was part of the millions of people who left because of that. I think that it's very frustrating to live in a world where we have access to AI that can help us do so many things. And I don't know why we're using it to make memes versus cure cancer. So I am looking very intentionally at who's in our tech stack, what work are they doing, how are they being good humans versus, good or bad AI as well. So that's why we've gone with Claude. Plus, they've been releasing so many things faster that make a difference. I've worked with quite a few clients who have put their entire consumer profiles into chat or into some other programs, and the quality of work that Claude's giving back is significantly better than the generic kind of feedback that chat was having. I also really like that in Claude you can turn off, like, adding your information into the ether, because I think a lot of people forget that if you upload your copyrighted material, anyone can have it now. So be able to turn that off in Claude, the fact that it has these deeper levels that are coming, it now has that, it's called the dashboard, where you can run reports on it all the time. That's super helpful. So that one just felt better than the other ones that were out there. And then with Gemini, it's great for what it does in like our meetings and things like that. It's great for finding things, but I'm not seeing, and maybe this is a fault of my own, I'm not seeing the deeper layers that it can offer in kind of being a second brain, looking at all of the systems that we have in our business, where I feel like Claude is doing that. And I feel
Yeah.
like we're brand new. Like, I am
Mm.
by no means the expert in how this is working, but we're trying to evaluate it as quickly as we can as we're doing this kind of tech stack revolution over here.
So, as you picture the agency in 3 years, what's
Mhm.
different about how it operates versus today?
In 3 years, I imagine that the majority of our revenue is coming from digital-based products versus private coaching and consulting. And not that we plan to reduce how many spots we have available on that side, but there's so much that we haven't activated on in the digital programs, the masterminds, the group coaching that is so valuable to people. And we just haven't had the capacity to share it and market it at the levels that we can. I also think that there's so much shift happening in who entrepreneurs are today and what they need and what they're looking for. And how the model used to exist, where people are like, oh, teach me how to do email. Like, that's fine. It's going to be useful and people need it at some capacity, but there's so many ways to get that information now that we're looking at having much more in-depth community network building opportunities, where it's not just about one-to-one services, but it's about how are we connecting the collective so that multiple businesses can be scaling at once versus a one-to-one ratio.
Those are some really great ambitions. And unfortunately, time flies when we're having fun. So I appreciate you being on here and in sharing your insights and your mindset and your philosophy around everything. Before we go, any kind of last message you want to leave our audience with? And where is it that folks can find you if something you said today resonated?
Sure. So I guess my final message is that business can be much easier than we think it is, especially when we build it around ourselves. And you can find me at karaduffy.com or Kara_Duffy on Instagram. And both those places can send you to everything else that I'm up to as well.
Great. So thank you so much, Kara, for being on the show. As for our audience, if you got something useful out of this episode, make sure to like it, share it with someone who's in the middle of building their own firm. And until next time, this is a wrap of the Consulting Engine podcast. I'm Del Marie Salcedo. See you next episode.